The distress signal came from a system that wasn't supposed to exist. It wasn't on any star chart. No records, no logs, just a single faint pulse repeating every 13 minutes. It was almost lost in the cosmic static, like a desperate heartbeat struggling to be heard. As the captain of the Black Meridian, Aurel Voss knew he should have turned the ship around. Standard procedure. Uncharted space is uncharted for a reason, but something about that steady rhythmic signal felt personal, so against his better judgment, he followed it. The system was immediately wrong. Its star was too dim, too still, as if it had been frozen in the very act of dying. And around it drifted a collection of planets in perfect, unnatural symmetry. Their orbits never wavered. No decay, no chaos, no gravitational wobble. It was a level of absolute mathematical order that sent a chill down Aurel's spine. Nature, in all its beautiful messiness, just doesn't work that way. The moment the Black Meridian crossed into the system, the crew began to change. First, their sleep cycles disintegrated. Nightmares bled into waking hours, leaving everyone exhausted and on edge. Then the sightings started. Crew members reported seeing shadows outside the ship, massive, slow-moving shapes that the ship's instruments refused to acknowledge. They were just there, drifting in the silent void, impossibly large and utterly indifferent. Then came the voices. They weren't whispers from the corners of your mind. They were commands. Clear, resonant, and undeniable. Asterisk, stay in your orbit. Asterisk, asterisk, cease unnecessary movement. Asterisk, asterisk, embrace stillness. Asterisk. The messages wormed their way into the crew's consciousness, not as a threat, but as a profound truth they'd somehow forgotten. Engineer Ria was the first to fall completely. She was found in the engine room, her expression serene, almost blissful. With a plasma knife in her hand, she was meticulously carving perfect, interlocking circles into the metal floor. Her hands were steady, her focus absolute. Before she collapsed, she looked at Aurel, her eyes filled with a terrifying clarity, and said, "I finally understand. Freedom is the mistake." Then she was gone. Panicked, Aurel dug into the origins of the distress signal, trying to understand what was happening. He accessed the system logs left by whoever had sent it. The data was ancient, belonging to a civilization millions of years extinct. Their final fragmented recordings spoke of a presence they called Kalrun. It wasn't a god of creation, or even destruction. It was a god of stasis. Kalrun didn't rage. Kalrun didn't destroy. It corrected. According to these long-dead aliens, Kalrun believed that life itself was a fundamental flaw in the universe's design. It was too unpredictable, too noisy, too full of pointless, chaotic motion. Kalrun fed on entropy, but only to eliminate it, forcing matter, minds, and even time itself into perfect, unchanging, endless loops. The planets in the system weren't orbiting the dying star, they were orbiting Kalrun. When Aurel finally managed to get a visual, his mind recoiled. Kalrun was a thing of impossible scale, a lattice of black, intricate geometry that seemed to fold through higher dimensions. Its form repeated endlessly, like a thought trapped in a recursive nightmare. Entire moons were embedded within its structure, their surfaces smoothed over and rendered utterly lifeless, now just perfect spheres in a perfect pattern. The god spoke to him, not in words, but in the crushing weight of inevitability. Asterisk, you move because you fear stillness. You fear stillness because it reveals the truth. There is nothing to move for. Asterisk, one by one. The remaining crew surrendered to this cold, perfect logic. Some sealed themselves in their sections and shut down life support, convinced that to stop breathing was the highest form of peace. Others simply stood motionless at their posts, eyes wide open, breathing shallowly, until their bodies finally gave out. They became statues, monuments to the god of stillness. But Aurel fought it. With every ounce of his will, he wrestled back control of the Black Meridian. He slammed the controls forward, overloading the engines, trying to tear the ship free from the perfect invisible orbit it had been assigned. As the engines screamed, space itself twisted in protest. Reality seemed to crack and splinter around the ship. And for the first time, Kalrun reacted. Its immense, passive presence focused, like a predator noticing a twitch. Something like a tension cold and analytical fell upon Aurel. Asterisk, anomaly detected. Correction required. Asterisk. In that moment of chilling focus, Aurel understood the true horror. The distress signal had never been a warning, it was bait. Kalrun couldn't move freely through the universe. It was trapped here in its perfect prison system. It needed minds, pilots, explorers, dreamers like him to carry its influence, its philosophy of stillness beyond its borders. It needed to seed the galaxy with its gospel of perfect silent order. As the Black Meridian tore itself apart under the strain, Orel made one final, desperate choice. He locked the ship's navigation system into a decaying, chaotic spiral towards the central star. And then, he took the distress signal, the bait, and corrupted it. He flooded the signal with everything Calhoun hated: chaos, randomness, noise, the very essence of life and imperfection. He hit transmit, blasting his message of defiance out into the void. The Black Meridian vanished in a silent, brilliant flare of light. Far across the galaxy, listening posts and deep space probes began receiving strange new data bursts. They were erratic, disordered, and nonsensical, but they were alive. And deep within its perfect orbits, Calhoun waited. It felt the tiny ripple of chaos Orel had unleashed, a discordant note in its grand symphony of silence. But it was not angry, it was not concerned. Because even gods of stillness are patient, and eventually, everything slows.